Aloha, welcome back to Ukulele FPV. Today we have a drone that just came in. It is the Bfight 210 from Gearbest.com. It is the Bind and Fly Age FDS 2A version, so that I can use it with my Turnigi Evolution. And right now we're going to go over the components and see what's in the box. So the first thing that's in the box is it comes with two sets of propellers. There's 4 propellers in each, so you can be fine if you crash at least once. You might need some more propellers later, but you get 4 clear ones and 4 black ones. So if you want to mix it up, it's there. They are the Gemfan Flash 5152 by 3. So they're tri-blade props and they're pretty steep. The 52 on there, lets you know that. And then inside we have the Bfight drone. It comes with these Bfight 2205 2300 kV motors. There is a CCD camera that has a little OSD joystick on the back. As you can see, it has a linear antenna that comes installed, but you can also install a different antenna. They give you a little wire there that you can change it out for. I like the blue color that it comes with. Nice and good looking, actually. Then it has a 30 amp 4-in-1 ESC in there. Omnibus F3 Pro flight controller. You can see the little receiver right there, and then it comes with a 25 milliwatt to 200 milliwatt VTX already installed. We also get a couple zip ties, and it looks like some cool heat shrink. And then, as I said, the little adapter if you want to install a different antenna. It is RP SMA, just so you know. There's the little pin inside of there, so you have to buy the right kind of antenna to go with it. And it has a little screw in there, so it screws perfectly well right in this little hole, and it makes it sit in there perfectly. And then it has a couple battery straps that, not sure how well they are, but they come with it, so that's nice. And then it also has a little instruction manual. It has a layout for the flight controller, so that if you need to switch things around, you can set it up that way. And they inform you how to set up your receiver, because it's bind and fly. We have the Fly Sky version, so here is what they say to do. You just hold the bind key, plug in the battery, and change your receiver to bind so that you can actually bind it. On the back side, they explain the VTX a little bit more. The VTX is the Aurora RC AR VTX 200. It actually has an S-bus in that allows you to change the frequency, controlling it through S-bus. So you can change the channels using the 6th channel on your transmitter. So you have to make sure that a lot of people, they cut the white wire that's in there, that is the S-bus, or they just make sure that they keep the 6th channel clear and only use that for changing their channel when they need it. To see what channel and frequency you're on, you look at the lights. They have a couple lights. It shows them right here. The frequency group indicator and the frequency point indicator. So the group will tell you which frequency it is, and then the point will tell you which channel it is, depending on which lights are lit up. To change the frequency, you press and hold the button for 2 seconds. And to change the power, you just press and hold it for 10 seconds, and then you can change it between 25 milliwatts and 200 milliwatts. And then you can change the channel just by pressing it, or using your the sixth channel on your receiver. And then the camera, it has a 2.5 millimeter lens. It is CCD, has a 135 degree super wide angle, and is PAL and NTSC switchable, I believe. And then here's the specs for that. It has OSD as well. It's adjustable, as I said. There's a little joystick on the back, so to get in there and access it, we'd have to take it apart. But you can change the shutter, gain, backlight, white balance, day-night mode, video settings. They have a few languages: Chinese, English, German, Italian, and Russian. So you can do that, or you can just go back to factory settings. So what I want to do is look at this receiver. I had the question of what the receiver was, but no one seemed to know what it was. So hopefully we can get in there and find out. So this drone it was on sale for $100, but it's normally $160, $180, depending on if you get plug and play or bind and fly. I think right now they have it on sale for about $140. So let's just get in there and take a closer look. If you know of any other receivers, they would probably be better. This one just has a little monopole that's sticking out there. It might work, but I'm not sure how far it will go. On the website they claim to go 500 meters, but that is yet to be tested. We might do a range test to find out how far we can go. So you can see it was just easy to get in there. Here is the OSD channel settings. I think you click in and you can go to the sides depending on what you need to do with your settings. We can go over that a little bit more. If you can check out the VTX here, it says video, ground, 5 out, S-bus, ground, and 7 to 24 volts. So it takes direct battery voltage if you so wish to use that. It looks like the little receiver in here, I think it's tiny. So I'm not sure what kind of receiver it is and how reliable it's going to be. It's the FS RX2A Pro. So a lot of people use this receiver. I haven't gotten one yet, but hopefully I will soon. They say they're pretty reliable, better than the AAS from FlySky. So hopefully that gives a pretty decent range for us. It is, as I said, just a little monopole antenna right there. So it's not going to be the best range, but it should do pretty well. Okay, so I do not have a screen to be able to show you the camera and what I see on the OSD at the same time, so I am just going to have a recording of the screen for you at DVR so that you can see it. As you can see here, it looks like the top of the OSD is cut off a little bit. It is probably due to my goggles, but we will see if we can change that. So in order to get into the OSD menu, you just press the button in and it will show you the settings here. The first one on there is the exposure and all that, so you can press it in again to look in. You can change the brightness, the exposure mode, and the gain To go down, you press down to the right, and to go up, you press down to the left. And if you want to change something to the right, you press up to the right. And if you want to change something to the left, you press up to the left. So we are able to change the brightness, exposure, and the gain in that first setting. The next one is the white balance. And so you can change the white balance here. If you go up to the right, you can see there's manual white balance or just auto white balance. I keep it on auto. There is the day and night, that it goes automatically to black and white in the night or color in the day. So I like to keep it on auto so that it can change if it gets too dark, if I'm going through trees or not. You can also change the video settings, so the contrast, the sharpness, the color gain, DNR, the format if you want NTSC or PAL. So that just changed that. It looks a little different. So it's all your preference there. You can also change a WDR, so wide dynamic range. That helps you see better in more harsh conditions. So if there's like shadows, you can see it better. It just helps you see. Then you can change the language to English, Chinese, Spanish, Russian, I believe that is, Italian. It says there's German somewhere in there. I don't see it. You can do a factory reset or save and exit. So you can turn that on and off. It is easier to see the OSD if you have your cap on, which is nice that they give you a little cap. As you can see over here, if I just press it, then it's a little faded. You need a dark background. But other than that, that is the OSD. As I said before, you have to take off the whole top plate to be able to access it. So that is a little struggle, but it is not too much of a hassle if you're bringing your tools with you, if you're having your little race day, as a lot of people would with this quad. Anyway, let's bind it up to the receiver, hook it up to the computer, and see what we can do with it. First things first, let's bind our receiver to our controller. Here I have my Turnigi Evolution that I'm going to set into bind mode. Let me change it to the right model first. So I already have another model set on here. So I'm going to go over to model, select model, and go to the second model. And I have the LED set off because I usually use this for my simulators, just so that it's not too bright in my eyes. So we set that, and then we actually need to stay in the menu and go to RX bind. And once that's set, what I'm going to do is see if I can power the RX without having to plug it in to a battery. So I'm using the computer. So what you have to do is, this part's a little annoying. You gotta find the bind button, and you gotta hold it when you plug it in. And so it powers it. And so it says right there that it is flashing. That means we need to put it in over here. So it says binding over there, and then we just exit out. Once it stops flashing and has that solid light, that means that it is bound. So right now we are bound to the receiver. Now let's go into Betaflight to see the setup. So we are here in Betaflight. As you can see, we have everything set up as we need. We are going to go look at the ports first. In here, there is UART3 is our receiver. It is set to serial because we're using an S-Bus iBus receiver. In configuration, we see that it is quad X here. 1 second, my batteries are done charging. Okay, I am back. It is set to D-Shot 600 with motor stop on. I like to turn it off so that it doesn't stop the motors and I don't fall out of the sky when I'm doing freestyle. And then the idle throttle is set to 4.5%. Here we don't really need to change anything. It's got its name. We can set a camera angle. And then as you see here, it is set to iBus. And we do not have an LED strip right now, so we don't have to have that set. We don't have telemetry. Black box is fine. I am not sure if we have an SD card slot. Oh, we do. So if I want SD for black box, that is nice. That is there. We have on-screen display. And then I'm not sure what this right here is. Video transmitter. So we can set those. VBAT here. Actually, let's try to update this. We'll do that later. We'll fly it first as it came to see if it is truly a beginner quad. This is my first 5-inch. I had never mentioned that earlier, but I have flown 2-inch, tiny whoop, and brushed. So this is going to be my first time. See if it truly is a beginner quad or if it is more for more advanced people. So there's VBAT, there's current meter. Here in failsafe, we can set it. If you go, I like to keep my throttle on hold just in case it does a quick failsafe and I can still catch it. I don't crash necessarily. I do not have a kill switch for it. So for stage 2, allows us to set these channels here. So you save that, it'll reboot. Now we need to go into, here's PID tuning. We see that it is set pretty low, so these are just the standard that's set. As you can see here, I have my receiver connected and my transmitter on, so I can control that, see a little bit of how it might work. It looks like I need to adjust my roll a little bit. It moves around. Aux 1, looks like 2 of them are set up on aux 1 and 2. And none of my other ones are set up. So I'll have to go in and change that on my controller, but I can do that later. For here, we're going to arm with aux 1. I like arming it high. Air mode, I actually want air mode on always. So in configuration, usually there's an air mode right here. Permanently enable air mode. So we can have it on there. That helps for all the freestyle flyers out there. You use air mode to make it so that your quad doesn't just drop and your motors don't stop. So we're going to go in here, set arm to aux 1. You can have anti-gravity. I don't know a lot about that. I need to go look it up. You can set a beeper, failsafe. So let's set a beeper. I don't remember what channel this one is. Aux 5, maybe? Anyway, I'll set one later once I adjust my receiver. So that's fine. And then that's about it in there. I don't use angle mode or horizon mode, so I just have to set it for, and then click save. Adjustments over here. Don't have to mess with that or this. For motors, we can test to see if the motors go in the right directions. So got to power it up with a battery. Then make sure you remove your props here. Motor 1 is the back right one. Make sure it's spinning in the right direction. Motor 2, front left. Motor 3, back left. And motor 4, front left. So they all work. The motors came fine. It looks like all the soldering is fine. Here we can adjust the OSD. We need to bring this down a little bit. I actually do not like having the horizon sidebars or the artificial horizon. And I actually want to move this down here too. So fly time's on, main voltage, total on time, total fly time, fly mode. I don't need that on. And then the craft name. It's not necessary, but it works. I might change that later. And you click save. So let's look real quick at what the CLI, what version it is. So if we do a dump, it will tell us that it is 3.1.7. So it's the older version. Later we will update it to 3.2. Anyway, that is about all on here. Let's go for a flight test and see how it does. So right here, we're going to do a little punch out over one of the trees. And in comparison, you can look at me and see how tall these trees actually are. The punch out's really well. This quad is a lot more powerful than the micros that I am used to. And one thing to note is that the propellers are in view, so if that is something that bothers you, you might want to look at a different style of quad, because this one being on X-frame and the way that it is set up, you will almost always get the props in view unless you go to a really high viewing angle. But as you can see here, the quad flies really well. It only required a little bit of tuning, changing the PIDs a little bit so that we get less prop wash, and then adjusting the rates to how I like them. They still aren't quite to where I would like them to be, but they are sufficient for my needs. Another thing to note is that the camera, it looks really good right now because that was during midday, but if you're flying towards the evening or early morning, you can go blind if you are looking towards the sun and then turn away from it. So something that I had to do was adjust the backlight compensation so that the brightness is at its lowest during the midday, and I have to up it as I go to the afternoon. Right here I did a little bit of a range test. As you can see right here, we went about 250 meters, so that is really good for the FS RX8 2A Pro. Being a monopole, it doesn't have a diversity receiver, so that distance is pretty surprising to me. The video breakup was a little bit, but for a whip or a whip antenna, it is doing really well. I am thinking about getting another antenna to try with it, but we'll see if that happens. Anyway, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy the rest of the flight. Sorry I'm not a professional at flying. I need to work on that, but enjoy. Hope to see you soon. Please like and subscribe. Have a good one. Aloha.